Howdy, welcome to the Bender Bunker, your online resource for B-Bender country guitar since 2017. And by request, I am here to walk you through the primary B-Bender parts of the Bender Bunker original instrumental Hit It or Quit It, which was written and performed right here in the Bender Bunker and released in honor of the channel's 6-year anniversary on YouTube. It was the last video we put out of year 2023. There's the thumbnail right there if that rings any Bender bells. And what I do in that song and that video is try and deliver on that thumbnail's promise, which is cram 6 years of Bender licks into 2 minutes and 22 seconds. And if you watch that video, I am spraying out B-Bender licks left and right like a cat marking its territory. And as such, when the video was done, I said, hey, look, if anybody wants me to take that performance video and turn it into a lesson format, just put a comment below. If I get 5 or more, we'll circle back and do it. Well, happy to report we got way more than 5. I'm a man of my word, and I am back to walk you through the primary Bender parts of everything you're going to need to know to play all the hot action from Hit It or Quit It. Now, if you haven't seen the song and you are indeed a fan of B-Bender country guitar, which you may be because you're on this channel right now, I've replaced it hopefully right there, somewhere up there, with a link that'll teleport you magically over to that video where you can watch that 2 minutes and 22 seconds of Bender craziness. And as you're enjoying the song, hopefully you enjoy it. And if you've already seen it, I would approach it kind of the same way. The song is really just a delivery vehicle for B-Bender licks. And as such, if you hear 1, 2, 3, or a few that catch your ear that you might like to absorb into your B-Bender vocabulary, make them your own, bastardize them up, and then put them in your own song, because that's really kind of the point of this channel, always has been. Well, then just figure out which ones you might like to learn, because I'll be walking you through all of them right here on this lesson. Now, we have broken this lesson into 4 main chapters on the screen below. And what I've done is I've taken that performance video and chopped it into 4 sections. So 20, 30 seconds of it'll play. I'll pop it right back in to show you how to play what you just heard. And then this is an important part too. At the end of each of the chapters, of the 4 chapters, there'll be pick, hand, cam. That's really going to do 2 things for us today. One, it's going to allow you in the main chapters to pay attention to pretty much just to what my fret hand's doing and what the Bender mechanism's doing. Don't worry about this hand quite yet. That'll be at the end of the chapter in pick, hand, cam. Also, though, that'll also allow me a little extra time to not only reinforce what I just showed you in the chapter, because I'll be playing it up nice and slow in front of the camera, much closer than here. And I'll play everything you just learned right up front, very slow, but I'll add in certain variations I wasn't able to get to in the main chapter that might have been in the main video. So that way it'll allow me to cover more. I won't be able to walk you through everything note by note, but I'll play everything very slow, right up close to the camera, note by note, so you'll have a chance to learn everything you're seeing on the video. So if that sounds good to you, I'd say go grab the Bender and let's get started now with Hit It or Quit It. Now, before we do, one quick thing. Just a quick reminder, the Bender Bunker YouTube channel could use your support. I really would appreciate it. Just give us a quick thumbs up if you're enjoying the content. Let that YouTube algorithm know you might like to see more hot Bender action in your daily feed. If you're not a subscriber, we'd love to have you in the Bunker family, so maybe think about hitting that subscription button in the bottom corner of your screen right now so you don't miss anything moving forward. And then honestly, the last one would be if you want to buy the band a beer. Just saying. We call that a virtual beer donation, and that's done through the Bender Bunker's PayPal account, the link for which is always in the details section below each video. New wrinkle to that right now with this year. We're in year 7 now, and we just kicked this off. It's called the Thank You Licks program. And that's basically if you donate $5 or more, I send you back an email with a link for another B-Bender lick to work on, a private YouTube lesson I created for donors. And so there's so many licks we're going to cover in this lesson, but if there's still an emptiness at the end of it all and you think, I just wish there was one more lick, well, the Thank You Licks program might be for you. And by the way, if you donate $10 or more, I'm going to send you 2 more licks to work on. So something to consider. That's the thumbnail you want to look for. Head over to, after this, if you're interested in that, head over to that thumbnail on our main channel page and watch it. It's a real quick video. It's going to walk you through the details, but more importantly, it's going to show you the 2 licks that I would send you to learn so you can see if that's interesting to you. Keep in mind, the licks change every 3 months. It's a quarterly program, so hopefully at some point of this calendar year, I'll tempt you with something in the Thank You Licks program. All right, that's all I got to say. Let's dive into chapter 1 and learn all we can about Hit It or Quit It here on the Bender Bunker. Chapter 1, going to cover what you just saw, the main riff, if you will. That's a good way to call it. Probably the most reoccurring parts of the song. That whole... And then also the... which is part of the riff, but also shows up in the main solo as well. So we're going to be knocking that out right now, and it'll serve us well in the future. Now, the song has 4 chords in it, and we're only using 3 of the 4 for this chapter. That is going to be the dominant key of A, goes to E, and there's a D7th involved as well. So it's good to know. I'll be calling those out as we learn these parts. But we're going to start in the dominant key of A with the main riff. Now I want you to think about just, put your index finger on an A note there, 3rd string, 2nd fret, leave the top 2 strings open. And with the bender, you're basically completing that A chord, right? Think about that. Now with your open strings, what's the octave equivalent of that? Well, that'd be up here, top 2 strings on the 12th, right? And that's where we really start the party of the main riff. We're going to be taking our little finger and covering the top 2 strings on the 12th and using our bender to work some magic, get back down to that open A down here. But there's a stopover in the middle we've got to talk about as well. We're going to be using the heck out of it. That is the 7th shape for A bender. That bad boy. And what I mean by that is think of a D7th chord. Just move it up here on frets 9, 8, 9, same shape. And that's going to be your 7th shape for the A bender we're going to be using today. So that is part of the riff right off the bat. So put your little finger on the top 2 strings of the 12th. We're going to pick them together and take your bender up abruptly and hold it there. Just like that. Now we're going to immediately go to the top 2 strings of that 7th shape I just showed you. So top strings 9 and 8. And that's we're going to pick those together and let the bender down. So we go up with the top 2 on the 12th. And then back down on our bender on the 9-8 strings. Bender's unengaged. Now we're going to let our middle finger fall on that 3rd string 9th to complete the 3-string 7 shape. And we're going to go right to it, 3rd string 9th, and we're going to pick that, and then immediately go to the B string 8th next to it, take the bender up, and then we're going to, instead of hit that high E 9th, we're going to take our finger off and hit an open high E. It's going to sound like this. Those are 3 ringing together. So, all together. And the bender's engaged. They're all ringing nicely together. We're still in A. So I'm going to pop down there to where we started. I'm index finger, 3rd string 2nd, that A note. Now the top strings are open. That's perfect. We're going to be using this a lot in the lesson. High E open, immediately to the B string open, let the bender down, and end on that A note you've got your index finger on. And the bender's unengaged. So here we go. And again, I'll be covering more of the picking subtleties in the pick hand at the end of this chapter with pick hand cam. So all together. And the bender's unengaged. And all we do is we just come off that A note and we're just going to pick that open B string, take the bender up, high E open next to it, come right back to the B string and let the bender down, back into that 3rd string A note. Just retracing our steps. We do the riff again. Backing track goes to E. So we're going to slide into that E7th bender position. So it's right there, top 3 strings. D7 shape, up 2, E7. That's where we are now. We're going to use all 3 of those right off the bat. So we're going to pick our 3rd and 2nd string together. Again, that's 3rd string 4th, B string 3rd in that 7th shape. We're going to pick the 2 together, take the bender up, and then immediately at the top of that bender section, hit the high E 4th to complete that E7 shape. Bender's engaged. Immediately I come back to the 3rd string and do more of a percussive note, so I'm lifting my finger off of it a little bit and just percussive note. So it's... And as I do that percussive note, I'm taking my fingers that are covering the top 2 strings off to make them open again, as we're going to be doing so often in this lesson. Open strings now, and again like we did before, high E open, B string open with the bender down. We're not going back to the A note, though we're going to the 3rd string 1st fret this time because we're in E. All together. And the bender's unengaged. Now, backing track goes back to the dominant key of A, so we're going to follow it with this move. So the bender's unengaged. We're right there on the 3rd string 1st. We're going to slide right back up to the A note on the 3rd string 2nd with our index. And I'm going to pick the 3rd string and the B string open together, take the bender up, hit the high E open next to it, come right back to the 3rd string, bender's still engaged. I'm going to do right back to the high E, but this time on the high E 3rd, All right, back to the third string. Go back to the high E open. So what we did is, and then we hit the B string open and let the bender down. Back to the A note. Up to speed sounds like this. Now the backing track is going to that D7th I mentioned. This is what we're going to do for that. So we just came off this section, my index finger's right there. I'm going to go ahead and, as I've been talking about, now I'm actually going to use it, the D7 shape, but I'm only going to use the top 2 strings of it. So just, right? And I'm going to start there on the B string first fret, pick it, pick the bender up, and then hit the high E second fret next to it twice. And then come back and hit the B string to take the bender back down. So the bender's back down, but these two are ringing together. We're going to use that audio to get up to this other part for the D section, which is the top 2 strings on the 5th fret. So I just hit that B string first fret, got it ringing, and then I'm going to be using and doing that. And what I'm doing is I'm changing my fingers. I'm going from index and ring finger to middle fingers now falling on the 2nd string. So now I've got those two, and they're sliding up to get to the top 2 strings on the 5th. When I get there, I'll be taking the bender up in sequence with that. So by the time when I get there, the bender's engaged. So here's what we just learned and how to do that. Sounds like that. We just slung back into the bender being activated. And the bender's engaged. Now we're going to start with the high E, go straight to that B string. They're both there right on the 5th, of course. Let the bender down when we get to the B string. And let the index finger fall to the 3rd string 2nd, which can ring nicely where I never moved on the high E 5th. Okay, so that's that main riff. Now we need to learn this part. Let's knock it out. All right, the next part of the riff. And again, we use that quite a bit in the song, including the main solo. So let's knock that out real quick. I'm going to pick the top 2 strings together and take the bender up. Now I've got the bender fully engaged. I'm doing with my little finger 1 quick note on the high E 5th, taking it off and do the high E open. Now as I do that high E open, I just did, that's my mental cue to go ahead and drop the bender down, because I'm going to go back to the open B string, hit it, and take the bender back up. So altogether, that sequence sounds like this. Again, I'm starting 2 together, taking the bender up. That's what it sounds like. Now the bender's engaged again. I'm going to go ahead and utilize that E7 shape that we've already learned on the 4, 3, 4 frets, right? Top 3 strings. I've got the bender engaged. I'm going to start on the high E 4th, pick that, go to the B string 3rd to let the bender down. Go immediately to the 3rd string 4th to end that shape. Bender's unengaged. I'm going to take my fingers that are covering the top 2 strings off, because now I'm going to go to the open B string and take the bender back up and go to the high E next to it. So I come down tracing the full part of that 3 string 7 shape. But then when I go back up, the top 2 strings are once again open. And the bender's engaged again. And then I can just go ahead and hit that B string open, let the bender down, go straight to that A note on the 3rd string. All right, let's jump into pick hand cam so you can see what the right hand's doing. We'll go over all the licks we just learned nice and slow up close to the camera, and I'll throw in a few of the variations I didn't get a chance to cover. Here we go. Okay, here's pick hand cam for chapter 1. Keep in mind, the entire lesson is being picked with either my thumb, my index finger, or a combination thereof. There's no actual pick in the song. All right, up here, top 2 on the 12th, so how we get started. I am using my thumb and my index finger to get the party going. Here we go, play it nice and slow, and then I'll show you some variations to throw in as well. right, 2 variations to cover now. First one in the main key of A sounds like this, coming off the main riff. So you know this first part. Bender's unengaged, we're doing this. What that is I'm going up from where I ended there. I'll be working on the 3 and the 1 strings, your 3rd and 1st string, sliding it with my middle finger to the 3rd string 6, and allowing my index finger to fall on the high E 5th. Those 2 notes together, starting with the 3rd strings, which you're going to hear, and then go into the 1st string. So I'm sliding into those 2 notes, 3rd string, 1st string, 6 and 5 frets, and then I'm coming right back to the 3rd string doing a dead note, going back to the high E 5th doing a dead note. So it's 2 lives and 2 deads. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as I do that 4th dead note, I'm pre-engaging the bender so I can then hit the B string open and let the bender down, take it back up. All right, second variation is on the E. So instead of doing our 7th shape for E, we're now going to just do the top, or the 3rd and 2nd strings of it, leaving the high E open. And I'm going to pick those 2 together. Take the bender up. Bender comes down. I switch to the 3rd and 2nd string position of this. That's 7 and 5. Do the same thing. Pick them, take the bender up, do the high E. So we just did. And now I'm going to do the E bender box with the bender still engaged. Index finger covering top 2 on the 7th, and then my ring finger on the 3rd string 9th. I'm going to walk it down, laying the bender down when I get to the B string. All right, Pick Hand Camp, Chapter 1. Chapter 2, and what you just saw, I considered the B section, if you will. It happens twice in the song, once before the main solo and then again after the main solo. It's picked a little bit more hectically after the main solo to build up the momentum of the song, but the positions are the same. So let's just learn that, and then we'll cover the picking and pick hand cam at the end of this chapter. Now, the backing track for this section in Chapter 2, we are going to see the 4th chord and 4th and final chord of the song we haven't seen yet. That's B as in Bender. A B 7th is going to make an introduction here in Chapter 2. But it won't matter because once we learn this pattern, we're going to be playing it over all the chord changes. Now, Chapter 2, the B section does start in D, so let's learn the pattern in D because that's what we're going to be kicking off with anyway. It's an 8-note pattern. The bender goes up with the very first note, and it doesn't come down until I get to the 7th of 8 notes. Sounds like this. All right, so to do it in D, where we are in this section, index finger top 2 on the 5th for me. And then go ahead, and as I said, we're going to start with the bender right on the first note. So we're going to hit the B string 5th, take the bender up and hold it. Immediately hit the high E next to it. Now this is always going to come back to the B string. Everything, it alternates back and forth with the B string. So back to the B string. Then one quick note on the high E 8th with your little finger. Back to the B string. Little finger comes off, high E 5th again. Now we're coming back to the B string to let the bender down, which means it's the 7th note. And then the 8th note to finish this will be ring finger, 3rd string 7. And that's the pattern. That's about how it would go in the song. Now, we're going to A in the backing track. Let's go up to the high octave A because that sounds nice behind the backing. So let's do index finger on the top 2 on the 12th, and then it's just the exact same pattern you already know. And a high E note is going to be on the 15th. I do believe the clip you just saw, I maybe did an extra bend in there to pick it and give it some variety. That's what I'd be doing. Now, backing track goes to E, so to do that, we're taking index finger covering the top 2 on the 7th. And then we do this turnaround, this fun little turnaround move. let's knock that out. I need you to take your middle finger on the third string second, A note, anchor it there for this duration, all right? We're gonna start and end there. So got our middle finger there. We're going to pick that third string second and the B string open next to it. Take the bender up, immediately hit the high E open, and come back to the third string. Bender's engaged. Now, as I hit that last note, third string second, I'm unengaging the bender. It's happening fast, so you won't really hear it in the context of the song. It goes down. Now, that allows me to drop my index finger where it already is, B string first. Again, my middle finger's anchored. So now I've got this, right? Bender's unengaged, dropping the index to the B string first, doing that pattern again. Leave the bender engaged, drop your ring finger onto the B string second for a note, high E open. Now come back to the B string, but take your fingers off so it's open. Then you can let the bender down and end on that middle finger that never moved, third string second. Into the pace of the song. All right, that's the turnaround move. Now the backing track's gonna do what we already know. Quick one in D. Back up to A. Now we're going to see B7 for the first time. So this position for B would be down here, top 2 on the second. That makes our high E note that time on the 5th. Benders, and as you're seeing this position, bender goes up, bender comes down once on those positions. So now we end by going into an E section coming out of that B7. And to do that, we're coming out of the B pattern we just learned, and then we're pre-engaging and we're going into that E7th bender shape that we already covered in chapter 1 against a D7th moved up 2. So top 3 strings. Bender's unengaged. I'm switching my fingers now to that E7th shape for bender, and I'm pre-engaging on the bender. So now I'm going to start on the high E, hit the B string, take the bender down, and then go straight into that third string fourth, completing that 3-string shape. Bender's unengaged. I'm taking my fingers that are covering the top 2 strings off so that then I can go ahead and hit the B string open and take the bender up again, hit the open high E next to it, and then come back to the B string to let the bender down. So I'm up on the open B, high E, back on the open B. So from the B to the E exchange again. Okay, so that is how you play the patterns for the B section. Now we got to work on how we do it differently coming out of the main solo with our picking pattern. All right, the second time we play this section after the solo, it does change. The positions don't change. They still follow the same backing chord. So we already know those positions on the fretboard, but we are going to change how we use our bender and our picking pattern. Of course, we're going to cover the picking pattern in depth in Pick Hand Cam. So let's worry about what the fingers are doing here and primarily what the bender's doing. Now, what we just learned was the bender went up and came down once. This time it's going to go up and down twice, okay, as we do this new picking pattern. And then I'll start us off in D like I did before. Here's what it sounds like. So you're hearing the bender change the way I'm using it, and also what you're hearing is that high note on the high E is being droned with an open E as well. All right, so let's learn that real quick and then we can move it around. So we started in D last time with our index finger on the top 2 on the 5th, right? Now I'm just going to do B string in isolation with my index finger on the 5th, and allows my middle finger to go 2 up on the 3rd string 7th, leaving the high E open for this 3-string pattern. Of course, they are droning each other. And we're still using the high E, again, we're in D like we just learned. I'm using that one note on the high E will be up here on the 8th fret, same as before, except this time we're actually going to pick it twice because we're really picking up the pace of what we're doing with what we've already learned. Again, sounds like this. Bender went up and down twice now. Up to the high octave A, same pattern we now know. E. Same turnaround as before. Back to D. High octave A. Now we got to go B like we did before. Last time I took you down here, top 2 on the second for B. Let's do the octave B because that's what the song's doing to build up the tension and get it jumping out of the mix. So we just did the high octave A. Well, if we just move that up 2, we're going to be in the high octave B. That makes it easy. So now my index finger's B string 14th and my middle finger is 3rd string 16th. That hectic note we're hitting twice on the high E to drone with the open high E will be up here on the 17th with our little finger. And again, benders up, benders down, benders up, benders down, and it comes unengaged. Now we got to get out of the section like what you just saw in the clip. We do that by going. So coming out of that high octave B, I've got the bender unengaged. I'm going to pre-engage it. And then I want you to go ahead and put your index finger on the top 2 on the 12th. We're going to start with the high E, go immediately to the B string to let the bender down, and then go ahead and use either your middle or your ring finger to cover the 3rd string 2 up on the 14th, but that's really more of a dead note right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and pre-engage again. Index finger's now transferring down to the top 2 on the 7th. I'm going to use the middle or ring finger to the 3rd string 2 up on the 9th. This time I'm going to go ahead and pick that note when I get to the 9th. But the same thing, high E, B string, bender down, straight to that 3rd string 9th. Pre-engaged, unengaged, and then I still got that shape right there. I'm going to go ahead and pick that B string again on the 7th, take it bender up, hit the high E next to it, and then I'm going to take my index finger off and hit the B string open, let the bender down. And that's it for that sequence. All right, let's jump into pick hand cam so we can cover that second pass where it's a little bit more hectic on the picking. All right, pick hand cam for chapter 2. Here's the first pass of it. Again, always just thumb or index finger. That's that variation I do on the clip of the high octave A, but that's the picking pattern. Here's how you do the turnaround section. Again, I'm starting with the thumb and index finger on the 3rd and 2nd string. All right, now let's concentrate on the second pass where we really pick up our picking pace. Again, it is just alternating between the thumb and the index finger. Just remind you how it's supposed to sound. Back to that turnaround. Also, what you want to concentrate on here is because this 3rd and 2nd string pattern is not changing, you're able to slide. So when I go from the D to the high octave A, it can sound like this. All right, we're just sliding into it. Now, when we do that high octave B into that exit part of the whole thing, all right, pick hand, chapter 2. Chapter 3, time to start the main solo. You just heard the first half. I'm suspecting a lot of you just jumped straight to here, and I don't blame you. Kind of the main crux of the song, the peak of it, with a lot of fun bender stuff ahead of us. So let's dive in now. Like any good party, we're going to start with banjo rolls. No stranger to a banjo roll, which might be the title of my upcoming autobiography. No, we've done them on the channel before, and don't worry about this hand. This is a big part of a banjo roll, but we're going to cover that in detail soon on Pick Hand Cam. I'll get you all banjoed up here. Let's start with our finger positions. So index finger is going to go to the 3rd string 8th, and your ring finger 2 above it on the B string 10th. And then we're going to leave the high E string open, so now we've got this, which kind of sounds like jazz. So let's change that. We've got our middle finger hovering where it needs to be, right above the 3rd string 9th. So we can bring it up and down as we pick those two when we start to get that banjo territory. Now we're going to bring in that high E open, droning, and it's going to really take us to banjo land. All right, and that's how we start off the solo, and we immediately go into the weird sliding sound. Sounds like this. So we do our banjo roll. We've already got our ring finger there on the B string 10th. I'm picking it, and I'm literally, there's no science to it, just sliding up the B string till I get the sound I want, pretty much like that. Now this is the important part. As I'm sliding up to get that sound, that's also my cue to pre-engage the bender at the exact same time the slide is happening. We need that, because when we finish the slide, we're gonna go straight into an open B string, hit it, let the bender down, take it back up. So up to speed sounds like this. And that leaves us with the bender engaged, okay? So let's take advantage of that. Let's go down here and make the 7th shape for A. We've done that many times, the triangle right here, 9, 8, 9 on the frets. We're gonna just start on the high E, go to the B string, let the bender down, and go straight into that 3rd string 9th note. And the bender's unengaged. All right, all together. That's how they all play nicely together. Okay, we're time to take another pass, so we're just gonna reset things with the banjo roll again. Now we do a nice little harmonic. That is done by exactly how we started this entire lesson, by our little finger going up and covering the top 2 on the 12th. And we're going to start by hitting that B string, taking the bender right up, hitting the E string 12th next to it, and then doing a percussive note. So it's a triplet with the last thing being just a percussive note. And now we've got the bender engaged. Let's take advantage of that. Let's cover with our index finger, top 2 on the 7th. Let's go ahead and put our ring finger on the 3rd string 9th, making the top 3 strings of an E bender box. Start on the high E, go to the B string, let it down with the bender, and then go to your 3rd string 9. That's what it's gonna sound like. And the bender's unengaged. But we can go ahead and have one more little piece of this, and we've already got our index finger where we need it on the 7th, so let's go ahead and pick that B string 7th, take the bender up, hit the E string 7th next to it. And let's take our index finger off and do the open B string to let the bender down. So up with the B string on the 7th into the high E, then unengage with an open B string. So all together. All right, reset things with the banjo roll again. So we're coming out of the banjo roll. We finish with our middle finger there on the 3rd string 9th. That's perfect. We're gonna pick it and slide it up to the 11th fret. That allows our index finger to fall naturally one below it on the high E 10th, because we're working on the 3 and 1 string. So we pick the 3rd string first, go straight up to the high E 10th. Take that shape down 2, so now we're on 9 and 8 on the 3 and 1 strings. Start on your 3rd string and then go up to your high E. Now as we do this one, our cue to pre-engage the bender, because now we're going to do the top 3 strings of a D bender box. So index finger goes top 2 5th, and that allows a ring finger to go 3rd string 7th. Like we did before, start on the high E, B string to let the bender down, roll into your 3rd string 7th. And then we end the first half of the solo with something you already know from chapter 1, one of our primary riffs. So if you don't know how to play that, go back to chapter 1. I walk you through it there. And then we finish the solo first half with this. Get us set up for what's coming. And that is just your A string 2nd fret for a quick note, a waggle, and then open A. All right, that is the first half. Let's get into pick hand cam and start our banjo fun. All right, pick hand cam for the first part of chapter 3, the banjo rolls. All right, you already know where to put your fingers. I've got my thumb on the 3rd string, and I'm using my index finger on the B string, and I'm hitting them together so the middle finger can go up and down. And then this pattern is my index finger going high E, B string, and then the 3rd string is my thumb. So, and next time I do it, I do the first part twice with the thumb and index together. And then I repeat that pattern. that's how you do it on the picking. Now I'm going to take my index finger and make that note so I can slide it up into the open B string bender part. Here we go. Banjo rolls. That's thumb and index. All right, pick hand cam. Chapter 4, let's finish this solo in style. Things are heating up. I will say what makes this half different than the first half is there's a lot more of what I would call straight ahead twang licks, as in they don't involve the bender. So I'm going to play them, I'll show them to you, I'll give you some ideas, and then we'll play them again slower and closer at the end of this with pick hand cam. But let's really concentrate on the bender parts. Now we left the first half like this, and then we're just going to get in this half with some traditional A runs. I'm trading A octave notes. That little A run, and then we get into our first real bender part, which is bending into an open A chord, really. Sounds like that, and not as hectic as it looks. What you're doing is you're picking in sequence 5-string, 4-string, 3-string. You're picking each of those once, and every time you pick it, it's an open string. The other notes are you rolling on the open string pick you just did. So we start on the 5th string open, roll 3-4. 4th string open, roll 2-4. 3rd string open, rolling 1-2 into that A note. As that's ringing, we hit the B string open next to it and take the bender up so we can get that open A bender. We definitely want to end that sequence with those two ringing together as the bender goes up. So it's really about getting the flow of those open string rolls, 5, 4, 3. And the bender's engaged. That's what we want, because now we're going to go. So we're right there. We left that open A bend with my middle finger on the A note, 3rd string 2nd. I'm going to pick that with the bender still engaged and slide it up to the 6th fret. When I get there, index finger falls on the high E 5th for a quick note. I come back to the 3rd string for dead percussive. I go back to the high E for dead percussive. So when I go up, it's 2 live and 2 dead. And then what I do there is my B string's basically open at that point, so I hit it and I let the bender come down and take it back up again. And the bender's engaged again. And we're gonna do what we've done so many times in this lesson. We like to recycle around these parts. We're very conscientious. Is we go back up to the A7th section, right? 9, 8, 9, and that's how we're gonna let the bender down. So start on the high E, B string down into the 3rd string 9th. So all together. And the bender's unengaged. Now we go to the E backing track. We're gonna do this, what sounds hectic, but if you went and learned what chapter 2 is, what we call our B section, same notes, just picked a little bit more frequently, and you get this. So go ahead, we just came off the 7 shape there, bender's unengaged. We let our index finger just go down 1 right there, cover the top 2 on the 7th. And then, like the chapter 2, we're gonna go ahead and pick the B string 7, take it up, hold it there for a second, high E 10th for a quick note with our little finger, right back to the B7, bender still engaged, high E7, B string to let the bender down, then ring finger over to the 3rd string 9th for a note. So that's not bad, right? When you see it that way. I'm just picking it fast. That's all it is, but those are the notes. Bender's unengaged. Let's do what we've already done since we already know it and love it. If it works once, it'll work again. We've still got our index covering the top 2 on the 7th. Let's go ahead and hit that B string. Pick the bender up, high E7, and then lift off the index finger so we can let the bender down with an open B string. Now, let's do the very first thing we learned in this lesson right there in chapter 1, the first part of the riff. So, little finger, top 2 on the 12th, blast those, hold the bender up, let the bender down with the top 2 on 9 and 8. And then a percussive note at the end of that. So what we're doing is, and as I hit that percussive note, that's my cue to pre-bend, because now my index finger is going down to cover the top 2 on the 5th, and then my middle finger is going 3rd string 6, because I'm making the top 3 strings of an A bar chord, and then I'm just walking the bender down, high E, B string down, 3rd string 6. And the bender's unengaged. Now it's just straight twang licks to get us on out of here. And what that is my 5 string and 3 string together. I'm starting on the 5th string 9th and then 3rd string 7th. Move that pattern down 2. Now same strings, but they're just 1 fret apart. Walk that down, but you're just really. And then we end with a twang lick. If you're chasing that one, I would say think of it as halves, because it really is the same lick, just twice, moving the string down 1. And then a traditional country lick. Ending on, you guessed it, the A note. All right, that is the second half of the solo. You now know it all. And it goes back to that B section that you've learned in chapter 2. So go back to chapter 2 if you skipped ahead, because that's what happens next. Now we're going to go to pick hand cam and get you on out of here. All right, pick hand cam for chapter 4. Here we go. We start with the twang lick, and that is open A string alternating with the A note. This little run. We do our first pick and roll into our bender section we just covered. That's your 5, 4, 3 strings, and that's going to be thumb, index, index. Then we do that 3rd and 1st string. 2 lives and 2 deads. That's going to be my thumb working the 3rd string, my index finger working the high E. Then we do the open B string with the index up and down on the bender. Re-engage up to the 7 shape. Then our E section. And that is it. The lesson is over. I hope you enjoyed it. As we broke down Hit It or Quit It here at the Bender Bunker. I'll see you again real soon. Let's end with our motto. It's never too late to go on a bender. Certainly hope you do. Until next time, keep it bent.